Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When we were trying to get this podcast off the ground, we had so many questions. How do we record an episode? Where do we find background music? How do we get our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places that people like to listen? And where do we find advertisers? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing, and monetizing your podcast. And best of all, it's 100% free and 100% ridiculously easy to use. Anchor makes it simple to get up and running. You can upload and schedule your podcasts ahead of time. It publishes to all the major podcast platforms. You can easily check your stats. I could go on, but instead, why don't you go and get started? Go to anchor.fm/start to join the e-commerce minute and a diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. We can't wait to hear your podcast.
It's the E-commerce Minute, your daily dose of e-commerce, tech, and retail news with your hosts, Bart Mraz and John Suter. The E-commerce Minute is a production of Sumo Heavy, a digital commerce consulting firm in Brooklyn, New York, and Philadelphia. Find us on the web at sumoheavy.com. It's E-commerce Minute, episode 306.
In today's episode, fight food waste with Imperfect Produce.
Food waste in America is a real problem. While many go hungry, groceries and farmers discard perfectly good product because it doesn't meet a visual standard American grocery shoppers are accustomed to. According to a study by Professor Lauren Greenwald at Dartmouth's Tuck School of Business and her co-authors, farmers discard as much as 30% of produce simply because it's considered not pretty enough for retail sale. And consumers reject what they see as unattractive produce in stores. The unsold produce amounts to billions of pounds of waste, according to the study. And the numbers add up. The USDA says retailers dump $15.4 billion of edible fruits and vegetables each year. The folks at Imperfect Produce thought this was wrong and decided to do something about it. As an undergrad, co-founder Ben Simon saw a huge amount of food waste at his college cafeteria. He started a nonprofit at the college to reduce waste. The further he dove into the issue, the more he saw how much food, especially produce, never made it to the restaurants or stores simply because of how it looked. He went about rescuing the produce and finding ways to distribute it. Imperfect Produce partners with farmers, taking their weird yet edible outcasts and offering them to the public through discounted subscription boxes. Customers can customize their boxes weekly. The company lets you know ahead of time which produce is available. Then you go onto the website and customize your box. Shoppers can choose whether they want an organic or conventional produce box. Pricing is based on weight, with items priced individually. On average, a small box, 7 to 9 pounds, costs $11 to $13 for conventional, or $15 to $17 for organic, while an extra large box, 23 to 25 pounds, is $25 to $27 for conventional and $39 to $43 for organic. Or if you'd like to be surprised, they'll fill up a box of ugly but seasonal goodies and ship it to your door. The company says this is 30 to 50% cheaper than grocery store prices. Since forming Imperfect Produce in August 2015, the company, according to their website, has diverted 30 million pounds of produce from being wasted, saved 900 million gallons of water, saved $12 million on groceries, and saved 91 million pounds of CO2 from entering the atmosphere. Earlier this summer, Imperfect Produce opened a financing round of up to $30 million. I love this.
I do too. I've known about this company for a while, and I love the idea of this. Like, who cares how it looks? Like,
Yeah.
I get it in a store. Like, if you go to a store, this is the fun part. If you actually go to a store, you probably have the same problem with like I do. You actually do look at it, right? But if you go to like a farmer's market, you don't care.
You're not looking as hard.
You're not looking as hard, right? Because in the store, it's all perfectly proportional and done and showy. You know?
You're exactly right. Because the produce is showroomed, and and we've been trained that way because they've been doing it since the 40s or 50s when chain supermarkets came into vogue, and that's just the way Americans have been trained. But You're right. The farmer's market analogy is a perfect analogy. You go to a farmer's market, your brain kicks into another way and says, look at this beautiful produce that just came from the earth. And look at this artisanal weird carrot that I just bought. It's going to taste so good.
Handmade.
Yes, a small batch artisanal carrot. You have a different mindset. But if you're someone who's really into cooking, but also doesn't want to spend, it really burns me up when you go into a supermarket and you have no choice, because I have to go to the supermarket and I have to get a carrot for this recipe or whatever it is, or an avocado. It's just so crazy expensive. And you have this, this is going to help people eat better, because I know when I used to do farm share, I would split a farm share with someone, and that box of vegetables will come. You go, crap, I need to figure out what I'm going to do with all these vegetables now. It's going to force me to come up with some creative ways to use it all. So I think people who are really into cooking, big families, this is perfect. I think this might be a little bit too much for a single person unless you're a vegetarian, because that is a lot of vegetables, but still the money that you can save on this is pretty incredible.
Yeah, but also I think because you've got CSAs before, right? If you get the CSA box, for the most part, they're perfect if you look at them.
Yep.
Right? They're not this. And I think this is going to be a better thing. And if you look at the pricing on this, they're not everywhere else. There's a competing company that's playing the same game. But for 7 to 9 pounds of organic between 15 and 17 bucks,
Sure.
That's a lot, right? Like that's a lot. And it's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of stuff. So that's
cheaper than, I believe it's cheaper than a CSA.
Oh, it definitely is. It definitely is. And the thing with me is like, I'm really against food waste. So the half of my brain goes, well, you should just do this. But then the other half is like, but I won't eat most of this food. So it's kind of like, I'm kind of stuck in the middle. I'm in the middle with this, but again, someone who has a larger family or someone who's a real vegetarian type diet, I think this is really incredible. And everything's seasonal. And what happens, what they do is if some things like, there was one quote, it's waste has no borders. Most of the food comes from the US, but in the off season, the company does source from Mexico and elsewhere. So they say in their FAQ, our primary focus is reducing waste. Food waste has no borders. Waste is a problem worldwide, and we do what we can to reduce waste wherever and however we can. So I think that's great.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
So deliveries happen on a predetermined week or predetermined day each week, kind of like your meal, your typical meal delivery boxes, and according to neighborhood in order to minimize carbon footprint. Right now, the boxes are only available in Los Angeles, Orange County, Bay Area, and select cities like Chicago, Indianapolis, San Antonio, Seattle, Portland, and Milwaukee, because they have to join up with the farmers, and it's more of a network kind of thing. So they can't. It's not like a HelloFresh where you can just throw up a warehouse and do it. They have to work with the farmers. So like the expansion, it's not going to happen as quick as everyone would like it, but I think this is going to be something you're going to see a lot more. It'd be interesting. We'll I'd love to see something like this catch on.
Yeah, it'd be great.
All right. You got anything else, Bart?
Your produce doesn't have
That's
to be
right.
perfect.
Your produce does not have to be perfect. We have some photos of the website because there's some nice graphics here that explain how it works, and a link to the site, which is imperfectproduce.com, at our website, ecommerceminute.co. That's your e-commerce minute for today. We'll see you on the internet tomorrow. That's it for today's show. If you like the show, do us a favor and subscribe or leave us a review on iTunes. And don't forget, you can now listen to the e-commerce minute on your Amazon device. Just add e-commerce minute to your flash briefing. And finally, if you have a comment or suggestion or just want to say hi, find us on social media at Sumo Heavy.